This starts your Meiosis 2 notes. We're not done yet with the process of meiosis. We still need to get through Meiosis 2. The two cells made in Meiosis 1 will go through interphase, but no DNA replication will occur. S-phase does not happen. Well, why is this important? Well, let's ponder this for a moment. The goal is to produce gametes that are haploid. If we replicate again, the cell will never be able to reach that half or that haploid amount. Prophase 2 is the first step of Meiosis 2. The chromosomes will condense, nuclear membranes dissolve, spindles form, and will begin to attach to the chromosomes. Again, don't forget that there are two cells going through this. Metaphase 2 is the second step of Meiosis 2. The centromeres will be pulled by those spindle fibers to the equator of the cell. The chromosomes will then line up randomly in the middle, not in any kind of order. Anaphase 2 is the third step of Meiosis 2. The centromeres will split and pull those sister chromatids to the opposite poles of the cell. The fourth step of Meiosis 2 is telophase 2. There will be 4 nuclei reforming, spindles will break down, and we will now begin to form 4 cells. Finally, cytokinesis 2 will split the cytoplasm completely, creating 4 haploid gamete cells. Each will have n number of chromosomes. So if this was a human cell, each would have a total of 23 total chromosomes. The result of Meiosis 2 again is 4 haploid gamete cells, since they all have half the original amount. Let's compare and contrast mitosis with meiosis. Let's talk about number of divisions. Mitosis only has 1, whereas meiosis has 2. How many and where does the DNA replication occur? In mitosis, there's 1, and it happens in interphase, the only interphase. In meiosis, there also is 1, and it happens in interphase 1. Total number of cells produced. Mitosis will only produce 2. Meiosis makes 4. How do the cells look? In mitosis, they are all exactly identical. But in meiosis, they are different. What type of cells does this occur in? Mitosis will happen in body cells, and meiosis happens in your gametes or your sex cells. Why does this process occur? Mitosis is for growth and repair of those body cells. But with meiosis, it's to reproduce more of whatever organism is going through that process. Because meiosis only occurs in sexually reproducing organisms, genetic variation, meaning difference, occurs. There are 3 types: independent assortment, crossing over, and random fertilization. In humans, when a gamete is created, it receives each of its 23 chromosome pairs by chance. happening occurs due to independent assortment. How those homologous pairs line up in the middle is random and independent of the other. Thus, this gives us as humans 2 to the 23rd combinations of gamete types that you personally can create. It is completely by chance that you are you because of these 8 million plus options of what possible chromosomes could be in each gamete. This random lining up occurs in metaphase 1 since it all depends on how those homologous chromosomes line up in the middle. This is just crazy. 8 million different options that you can produce? In a diagram, you can see just some of the many options independent assortment can create. So here, this is how they lined up, but over here they lined up a little bit differently. As a result, our 4 at the end are all different. Another example of genetic variation is crossing over. We sort of already talked about this. Crossing over only occurs during prophase 1. This can create even more variation on your chromosomes. This is why you look a lot like mommy or daddy, but never exactly like them. Thank goodness, right? The last influence on genetic variation is random fertilization. When an egg cell gets fertilized by a sperm cell, a zygote is created. This is completely random because any sperm can fertilize any egg. That gives us humans 70 trillion options of a type of kid. Isn't this just mind-boggling that you and your husband technically could have over 70 million trillion kids that are all different? Yikes! And double likes. Also, if, and I know you don't want to hear this, but if one of your daddy's sperm fertilized a different egg, or if a different sperm, if a different sperm fertilized a different egg, you would not be here. You would be somebody else. Now that is completely 100% crazy thinking. Here's an animation of some of the key features of meiosis. Go ahead and click on it and listen to it, but we will discuss it during class. So why is this stuff important? Well, mostly due to evolving of a species. Since there is so much variance, most, and I'm putting this in quotes, bad genes can eventually die out or go away. If you think about what they do with racehorses, usually only the fastest and the best get to breed. But what would happen if something was wrong with some of those genes of that fastest and best racehorse? Well, those bad genes would never go away because they're the only ones that are breeding and passing those bad genes on from generation to generation. Some advantages and disadvantages. Oops, sorry. Asexual reproduction is simple and it's very primitive, so that would be an advantage. Many offspring can be produced in a very short amount of time. With asexual, no energy is used to create or to find, I shouldn't say not create, to find a mate. Think about how much effort you put in to find that special someone. DNA, however, does not vary much among the offspring. If you remember, in asexual binary fission, those look exactly like each other. They're clones. And because of that, if the environment would change, those organisms may not be able to adapt very well. Thus, with sexual reproduction, it produces such huge amounts of genetic variation that we can adapt and survive if the environment changes. Mistakes. You can watch it now, but we will be watching and discussing this in class. Our essential questions. How does the reduction in chromosome number occur during meiosis? What are the stages of meiosis, 1 and 2? What's the importance of meiosis in providing genetic variation? And some vocabulary. Gene, homologous chromosomes, gamete, haploid, fertilization, diploid, crossing over, and independent assortment. This ends and concludes your meiosis notes.